Joe.
Hello, everyone. Grab your glass of wine. Let's get this party going.
Yes, it is happy hour. It's the
It is.
laugh you need and the talk you want.
Once again, genius tagline.
Thank you. I love it. I'm just going to say that every time so you
Every
can tell
time.
me how smart
Yeah, and
I
we're
am.
back on Sunday night. We were on Monday
Right.
morning last week, and we're back on Sunday night. And we're grateful because, frankly, we love Sunday nights.
We love Sunday nights, and everyone else does too.
Yes. You want to
Who
tell them who our
listens to the
sponsor
show.
is?
No, I don't. I think they need to pay us more money. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
360 Business Consulting. We love you because you're a great sponsor.
And you pay your invoice.
You pay your invoice, and you also help us with our technology.
Yes.
So
Yes. By the way, do you want to tell them what we're going to be doing next year?
I'm very excited. We are very excited.
We are very excited.
Holly, in her obsession with researching new avenues for the show, discovered a way for us to stream our show live. So not only will you be able to listen to us live, you'll be able to watch us live, just like a real televised talk show.
Yes.
So you can listen to us when you're doing whatever, or you can watch us
when you're doing whatever. So we have to put on clothes and not pee in our pajamas, and we are going to
Work on
actually
this.
shower for live streaming. But anyway, that is very cool live
are-
streaming. It will be like our own channel, our own
It
TV
is.
channel.
We could be live all the time.
No, stop it.
We
Don't
could
be crazy.
though. That's
All
what
right.
it said when I looked at it. It
I
said
know.
you can stream live anytime, all the time. I don't know if we'll do that right away in January, but that's something for everyone to look forward to.
Yeah,
That should make your holidays a little brighter.
No one wants to see us live all the time. All right,
I
Dorico,
think they do.
how was your weekend?
It was great.
Really?
I had
Why?
a great weekend because I've stopped hating Christmas.
Thank
So,
God.
so I think that's a good idea. You know, it's been good going into the actual holiday. I've settled
Folks,
down.
honestly, I have to tell you, she is very cheery on the air, but her hatred or anger or whatever was getting a little uncomfortable. What? I mean, I have no idea why you were like that, but you kept saying, "Well, everyone feels this way," and the answer was no. Not everyone feels this way. I mean, you were like the hater of the holiday spirit. I mean, you were getting a little nutty. Why are you now okay?
Here's what was going on. I was a little overwhelmed and, surprised, anxious. I was very anxious about, it's just the whole thing of the logistics of Christmas, of buying the gifts and wrapping and shipping. I was just overwhelmed. We have huge families, both of us. And I was, the working and this and that. I let it get out of hand in my mind.
You're the only one, actually, with a big family who actually sends them shit.
Well, you're part of that too now.
Oh,
so,
I get a gift? Oh, then be anxious. I don't know. I thought it was a little nutter butter.
I was just overwhelmed.
Next year, do you think you can maybe learn from this year and next year enjoy it?
No, because I think that every year, but it happens every year. But the good thing is I come out of it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
But
I heard a story about someone that I used to work with, who gained 60 pounds and got diabetes. I don't know why, but that turned me around. I really don't take pleasure in someone getting an illness that's going to kill them. But for whatever strange reason, it made me laugh. And I was like,
I think that's very
that's
sad.
it.
Actually.
And it turned me
I think it's very sad that you found humor in someone else's
Well,
diabetes.
it wasn't.
This is not good. We've got Linda Cohen coming on talking about doing good works and how that's changed her life and everyone's life around her, and you are laughing at someone who has gained 60 pounds and got diabetes. I mean, I think you're over the edge.
Okay, the reason I'm laughing is because I used to work there. So I know the environment.
Yeah.
And it's very conducive
to gaining 60 pounds and getting diabetes.
And being depressed.
Oh.
And maybe I just laugh because, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know, but I'm better. And I realize now that that's not a nice thing to do. But
No,
still
it's
is
not.
sort
Well,
of
I'm glad
funny.
you're better and you're not a hater of the holidays.
No.
I think you need to, honestly, it's what I said a couple of weeks ago. You don't just go shop and get a bunch of stuff and run around blindly.
Right.
You start out with an appetizer and a mimosa and you shop a little bit and then you go back and have a glass of wine, a little lunch. I mean, you make it a pleasurable, let me finish. Don't. Listen, you make it a pleasurable event. It's not, oh, I gotta go shopping for Christmas and I gotta pack stuff up. You make it an event, and it's a lovely event, and people are out. The weather has changed. It's crisper outside. You get to wear scarves, and although you wear scarves in the middle of the summer, I don't know.
I just
roast. But I'm just saying, it's actually a time that you can really enjoy. You just have to breathe and think about, this is a time for me to have fun. And were you dragging those kids along with you?
A little bit of it.
Well,
but
that's
even
your
then,
biggest.
Well, but even when I go out without them, I only have a small window of time.
Well,
I got to get everything done in this small amount of time.
Okay, well, next year we're going to do it different, because I absolutely enjoy the process, because I have a system that includes food, alcohol, and friends. And there is no way that's not going to be enjoyable. So anyway, all right.
Well, live and learn.
Live and learn.
See?
Okay, listen.
Where were you last year? So that you could have prepped me for this year, but now you're just prepping me for the following year.
Now we're together forever, so I'm
but,
going to help you with that.
But I really am a nice, lovely person. I just want
Well, except in that situation, you're kind of creepy. All right, listen. I want to, before we go to Linda Cohen in a few minutes, I want to talk about something that I posted on. Do you want to say something?
No,
Are you
I'm just
me?
looking at this.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the billboard.
Oh,
yes. I want to talk about. I don't want to talk
about
my weekend. It was a good weekend, but it's not.
I didn't even ask you. That was sort of rude. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just not as interesting as this. My weekend was pretty basic, but the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board put up a billboard, and for all of you who have not seen it, you can go to our Facebook fan page and look at it. But it's a billboard of a young lady's legs, and her panties are down, and it says she didn't want to do it, but she couldn't say no. And what they're doing is they are drawing a correlation between alcohol consumption and rape. And people absolutely lost their mind over this ad, and they have pulled it. And I had started a discussion on Facebook about it, and there were some people who were like, wow, absolutely went over the line. But I gotta be honest with you, I don't know where I fall on this, because when I looked at it initially, I thought, well, that's disturbing, because they're, in a sense, blaming her for the rape. And we know rape is not about the woman at all.
Right.
It's about power and that type of stuff. I mean, you could be naked and not be raped, or you could be dressed like a snowman and be raped. You could be 80, you could be 12. I mean, it's not about you or the choice you make. But at the same time, when I think about my younger days of drinking and getting in situations that could have ended not so well, maybe it's a discussion that I should have with my daughter of, this could lead to this. I don't know. What do you think?
It's funny. Well, you know what you said. My initial reaction when I saw it was like, "Oh my God, what is Holly posting?" But
the hell is she putting on there now?
Because I saw someone's response that said too far.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I looked at it and I felt that way too. But then, as you were saying, you know, it makes a tremendous impact.
It does.
Because even if it's not your fault. But the thing is, as a woman, you have got to be conscious of what can happen to you. And, you know, unfortunately, that's just the reality of the world we're living in. I mean,
but are they blaming her in that ad?
I don't think they are. I think what they're blaming her for is not being aware of what could happen to her.
So do you think when you look at the ad, by the way, for those of you who are watching us, well, on the video, we're pointing at the ad on my computer screen, just to let you know. But do you think in the ad, do you think there's blame in it? She didn't want to do it, but she couldn't say no.
There is blame. There's blame that she kept drinking or she kept doing whatever to get into a potentially dangerous situation. I mean, unfortunately, you have to protect yourself by knowing what could happen to you. I mean, you know, it makes me think about, it happened a couple years in Reno, and that's where I went to college. A young woman was abducted off of a couch of one of her friend's living rooms. I guess they were out partying, they left the front door unlocked. Some creepy guy that was trolling around walked in, took her off the couch,
and she had
did whatever.
drinking.
She'd been drinking, did whatever to her, killed her. But I mean, it's just you can't be too careful. So I think that's obviously what they're trying to do, and it's alarming, this ad, to look at it in a lot of ways. But
here's the other part of it. So I think in what I had said in my post was, I think there's merit to it. I think there's value to it. But if our children saw this and they're young, what do we say about it? Like, so I think there's value in it, but it seems almost where it's so M for mature. Do you know what I mean?
Agree.
Like, what do you say to your daughter who's young when they see this ad?
Well, you know, maybe that's another goal they want.
They
Is
want
it
people
so
talking about
shocking
it.
that they want people to, you know, children to say, what's going on there?
Mm-hmm.
Or to make people start talking about it. Because, you know, regardless of whose fault it is, as a woman, you just have to be aware that that's a danger and to be able to tell your children, look, this is a danger. Yes, you can have fun, but you always have to be with a group of friends. You don't ever go with anybody that you just met.
Yeah.
You just don't go out till you're 35, and you'll be fine, honey.
Yeah.
Stay at home with mommy and daddy.
Yeah, I would love to keep my baby home. I don't know. I think
Anyway,
you know what? I think they
interesting.
shouldn't have pulled it. I would have
So
liked
it was a full-size.
No, it was an ad, not a billboard.
Oh, it was an ad.
Now
okay.
that is a billboard would have been a little too shocking, don't you think?
Right. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Okay.
I think as an ad, I think it's good. I wish they wouldn't have given an, I think, because it is so shocking. I mean, it has us talking about it. It got a lot of response
It
on the
did get a
Facebook
lot of
page.
response.
And I think what it should do is then prompt people to start talking to their daughters about the reality of what drinking, it lowers your inhibitions.
It does.
And this is one of the consequences, although it's not your fault if it happens, but it is a potential consequence.
Do you know, Holly, where did they advertise this?
This is in Pennsylvania.
But was it in what kind of a
I don't
publication?
know
I didn't
what
see that either. Where
publication.
they
I don't know.
aired it, but
Yeah, I'm sure it was adult publications. Anyway,
it is. An
all I
important
know is if I
subject.
wouldn't have drank as much in college, I probably wouldn't have as much fun. But still. But still, I'm going to tell my kid not to drink. How do you think that's going to work?
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to go?
I think it'll go well.
You know, your mom was a complete drunk in college, but for you, I would like you not to drink.
I have to say, I partied a lot in college.
Sure.
But you know what?
For
I was
you,
always very good
What
about
does that
being
mean
with a
for
group
you,
of friends.
Dorico?
Well, I stayed at the library a little late sometimes, and I think that was a little wild and inappropriate. No, I went out a lot.
All right.
That's why I gained so much weight, because beer and late night pizza, I was too busy having fun. But you know what? I think it was good that I was kind of sort of plump in college, because
it saved you.
it saved me from probably a lot of bad relationships.
Yes.
So.
Okay. All right. Well,
Anyway.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I like the fact that we had a discussion on it on Facebook, that people were passionate about it and talking about it.
Absolutely.
But you know what? I think I'm a go on it.
I think so
I think I'm
too.
gonna go. I think I'm gonna go on it. I think it's a good
so
one.
too. I mean, it's not like it's showing up on Nickelodeon or something.
Not yet. Not
Yeah.
yet. All right.
If they paid enough, they probably could get it on Nickelodeon. Heck, if they pay enough, we'll put it on our show.
We're such whores. All right.
Okay. Well, from that note, we're moving on to.
I know we're gonna go from the discussion on alcohol and rape to Linda Cohen.
Before that, hating the holidays.
Oh, hating the holidays.
But now we'd like to uplift you in this holiday spirit, in the tune of the holidays. The show hot topic today is changing the world.
Yeah, because regardless of what we just said in the last 15 minutes, we actually believe in changing the world. We do.
We do.
We do. We come off. I come off. Not you. You're always very nice. I come off as a little crass, probably sometimes. But we have talked about on many occasions that we really want to do good with this show. We want to have fun with it, but we really want to do good, and we believe that the small acts of kindness can change the world. It can.
Because it starts in, your local community, the people around. I mean, think about it. If you have a happy home, then you're going to be happier when you go out into your community, and then those people go out and
absolutely.
nicer,
Well, I tell this story. This week I blogged about my dear friend told a story. She unfortunately lost a family member, had to fly home for the funeral, and she was outside a pub waiting for some friends, and she was just, lost in total despair over this. And a complete stranger basically said, "Are you okay?" And it pulled her out of that for a moment, and it made such an impression on her. And she came home and she said, the kindness of strangers is an amazing thing. And I've always remembered that story. And when I'm out and someone does something just kind and nice, picks something up, holds the door, it pauses you for a moment. It takes you take pause for a moment, and it feels good, and you then want to do that. It's that whole pay it forward, but not as a conscious. You know what I mean? It's an unconscious thing, and
it makes you feel better too.
It does.
For me, anyway.
It does.
You know, I gotta say that was a difficult thing for me moving to Southern California from where I grew up.
Because we're all schmucks.
Well, a little bit. No, not all of them. I admit there's some wonderful people here.
No, we're good.
But you know, there are also some people that it's just a different culture here. You know, especially I grew up in small towns. Everybody knew each other. It was just a different culture. But here, people are much less friendly, I guess.
We're busy.
Yeah,
we're running.
Everyone's very focused on what they're doing and where they're going. Yeah. So for someone to hold the door for you is very foreign. And then, you know, you go somewhere else to visit and they hold the door open. You're like, you perv, what are you trying to do? Steal my purse? Get out of my way. You know, so that's neither here nor there. But what is here? Yeah, changing the world. And we have a fantastic guest to talk about today.
We do.
We have.
And we found, you know, a friend of ours referred her to us the last minute. And it was, I'm so grateful because she has a beautiful book. And she's done some really great stuff. So you want to bring her on?
To change the world.
Do we know which phone line she is?
Let's go with this one. Linda, are you with us? Hi, welcome to the Happy Hour Radio Show.
Thank you so much.
We are so excited to have you on the show because we feel what you've been doing in your book ties in so well with, you know, changing the world.
Yeah. Can you tell the listeners, Linda, about your book a little bit before we start?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you first about the project because there was no book initially. I lost my dad in 2006 from terminal lung cancer, and we'd actually had a pretty difficult relationship. I lived with him in my teenage years, and we'd kind of gotten stuck at 16, even though, you know, I was now in my late 30s. And so when I knew he was dying, we kind of worked through some of that. And after he died, I was pretty intensely grieving. I was kind of surprised at how sad I felt and how kind of disoriented. And so I wanted to do something in his memory and his honor. And so I wanted to do 1,000 acts of kindness, or mitzvahs. It's the Jewish word for an act of kindness. And I decided I would start out on that project. And so I started a blog, 1000mitzvahs.org, to track the actions because it took me, I thought it would take only a year. It took almost 2.5 years. And then the book came out of that when a rabbi suggested it might be something I consider sharing because it really did help me move through the grief that I had felt.
Now, Linda, you know, when I was looking at your website and reading your press releases and stuff, the thing that came to my mind was, what is it about you and your situation that led you to do this? I mean, a lot of people who are feeling grief and lose someone don't then take this action. And now that I hear that you didn't have the best relationship with your father, what was it? What was your situation or about you that led you to this path as a result?
You know, I wish I could tell you. I mean, the couple things that I've thought about is that there was some divine providence and that my dad, who was a therapist growing up, and, you know, some of our difficulties were around having a therapist for a parent, and if anybody in your listening audience has that, sometimes that's a challenge because, you know, your parent will always tell you what stage you're at or where you are in your life, and you don't want to hear that when you're 15, you know?
Wow.
And like, I love you, but I don't like your behavior. I just remember these comments. And I just didn't really want to hear those when I was a teenager.
I thought that's what we were supposed to say.
But the year before he died, I mean, we were both ready to move forward. And so, you know, that year was a gift. And I remember him saying, like, why did we wait until I was sick to move forward? And, you know, neither of us knew. But I think that we had to get to that place before that happened. So when he died, I just really felt like our relationship had gotten to a much more peaceful place, and I think we both felt that way. And so, you know, after he died, and I'm Jewish, and there are so many important Jewish mourning rituals, and I really jumped into being part of all of them. I mean, including the first 7 days after someone's gone, you mourn in more intense way than the next 30 days, and then for the first year that someone is gone, which really is, you know, a really kind of tough time for a lot of people that first year, all the first Mother's Day, their birthday, all the holidays. And so, I decided about a month after he was gone that I wanted to do something. So, I don't know where it came from, but I'm going to believe that it had something to do with, his spirit. So.
And then, Linda, how did you start? You just got started doing these mitzvahs. I mean,
yeah.
Where did you
even
know where to start?
What path did you take?
Well, so, in Judaism, we actually have official mitzvahs. There are 613 official mitzvahs, and they're actually, the Hebrew word is mitzvot. And they're really commandments. So as a Jewish person growing up, we're kind of commanded to do these. But there's a set of these mitzvahs that are more just acts of loving kindness, kind of a whole subcategory of, do unto your brother as you'd want them to do to you. And I think that's where I set out. And I heard you right when I got on the phone about, somebody holding the door for you or someone, maybe letting you in traffic. I'm originally from the East Coast. When I moved out to Portland, Oregon, I couldn't believe that no one honked at me for 6 months because nobody honks at you here. That's just not what we do. And so, I just wanted to keep doing that. And so I've never said that any of these actions from the very beginning were life-changing because they're all really simple daily actions that any of us can do. But it's really getting conscious and deciding you are going to do them. You are going to set out every day and sort of start looking for them, which is what began to happen for me. Was now I was conscious and I was looking for opportunities that I could do a little something, give something to somebody or be helpful in some way.
But they are life-changing.
Well, cumulatively,
right?
Yeah. The whole project it has shifted where my life is headed. Of course, I didn't plan on writing a book in my life, and I haven't written a book, and now I'm beginning to speak about it, and I'm influencing other people to think about living consciously. So, yeah, it has shifted my life. But if you talk about holding the door or changing a roll of toilet paper or letting someone in traffic, individually, I don't think any of those things seem like they're going to make that much of a difference, which is another point of mine. Sometimes it's easy not to do those things because why does it matter? But I think that it does matter, and I think each of those things also fills you with, good karma, that you're putting out and you're receiving as well.
Fantastic, Linda. So, when you are speaking to groups of people about your book, what is your message for them? What are you sharing with them?
I'm just talking about this idea of knowing that our actions make a difference from the very smallest thing we could do to a bigger thing that we can do, not to be paralyzed and think that if you aren't going to create a nonprofit that's going to, fund all the starving children in Africa, that, you shouldn't do anything. Because I think a lot of people, and I myself included, sometimes I wondered if I couldn't do something that big and that grandiose, should I really do some of these other things? And so my message really is, of course you should. Because I think when you're starting to do that on a repetitive basis, it will shift how you think. It will shift how you look at the world. And you'll start, one of my big things was beginning to notice what other people were doing, noticing when somebody else received some act of kindness or some mitzvah, or noticing when I received one from someone else, and just noting in that moment that something was happening that was good.
And when you talk about 1,000, can you give our listeners an idea what some of those things are? That you did, the 1,000 mitzvahs?
Yeah. I have a chapter on volunteering because I have 2 children. At the time when I started the project, they were 6 and 9, and I loved being able to volunteer, and I tried to do a little more of that when I was doing the project. Holding the door open, I mentioned. Changing a roll of toilet paper happened when I was on a trip in Spain with my husband, and so that was always a funny one that people seem to continue to ask me about. Because that's not an official mitzvah, that isn't in that 613 category, and yet, as I've talked about it with people, everybody that I've talked with, from young kids to, seniors, is like, but yeah, that is something that's sort of when you don't expect to get anything in return, and you still are going to do the right thing. The first mitzvah was giving a book to a friend. She was leaving on a trip. I had just read this great book, and I really thought she'd love it, and so I gifted her my copy. Again, not life-shifting opportunities. I carried recycled bags. It was kind of before they were pretty popular in Portland. It was just at the beginning of when people started doing that. So I called that my Earth Mitzvah.
And how has this changed, your life and your entire family's life?
Well, I think that I will be completely honest with you. I'm a mom. Now my kids are 13 and 11. My daughter's almost 14. they don't think that I'm like the be-all, end-all. They don't think, I still have my challenges with my own kids trying to get them to sometimes do the right things. I'm at that teenage stage, and so it's keeping me very humble. I love the fact that it's what I'm trying to teach and do myself, but it doesn't always mean that I'm going to be followed by my own family. I will be completely honest about that. But that's also, part of the whole journey. Yeah. I think in terms of being with other people, one of the things I'm beginning to connect a lot with Wild Book since the book came out is connecting with people who are grieving. And I didn't really think that would be something that I would so connect with people about, but I think people who have met me on the book tour who are in their own process of grieving have really felt that this could be something they might want to consider as well. And they see that there's a benefit to it, and I think they want to meet me to sort of learn more about it. And I'm encouraging people. I have something on my blog now, which is, inviting people to consider doing their own mitzvah project. Maybe you do 10 acts of kindness this week, or maybe you do 50 this month, or maybe you want to commit to doing 1,000 yourself, which, probably will take you a year or more, maybe 2 years.
Great. And Linda, how do we get to your blog?
It's www.1000, so the number 1,000, mitzvahs, mitzvahs.org. Okay. And you could purchase the book from the website. You could also, take on that challenge if you want to, if you're so inclined. And I promise you, it's not hard. There may be ups and down days, but it is life-changing. You said that.
Now, Linda, have you made your kids read your book?
Yeah, my son actually, he's reading it for his class at school. Neither of them had really read it. He's 11 in 5th grade. He's reading it for his book report for school. And he, as soon as it came out, he was so excited to have a copy and have me sign it. And, and he's read a couple of the stories. I mean, my kids are in it, of course, because there were stories that happened with them or through them. And, at the time when I was doing the project, there were some really great, I thought, teachable moments in the book.
Right.
So.
Well, great. This is a beautiful story, Linda, and it's inspiring me certainly to be more conscious of that in 2012.
Yeah, Linda, we're trying to get her. We're trying to get her to be nicer, for God's sake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, try 10. Try 10 this week and see if you can do it.
Yes.
There are some easy suggestions on the website for things you can do.
Thank you. There are suggestions on your website, so people can go to your website, not only find the book, but there are things on the website to say, here are some of the things you can do, Bridget DeRico.
Yes, and December is really, I think this is probably the easiest month to do this, because if you want to throw some change into a, Salvation Army, or you want to do some giving or a toy drive, you're going to see it at every corner right now. Maybe in July, and one of my other things is that, there are other times of the year that I wish this wasn't the only season that people think about sharing and giving.
I know.
And I'm sure that in July I'll want to be doing some calls that talk about taking advantage of other summer opportunities or whatever, not just in December. But if you want to start right now, I'm telling you that this would probably be a perfect time to start.
Yeah, Linda, I think about that a lot at Christmas time. Like we just had a gathering, we had everybody bring an unwrapped toy, and I thought to myself, well, it's only at Christmas, and then by the middle of the year, do these kids think to themselves like, is there any more, or do I got to wait till Christmas? So I think you're right.
So July 4th barbecue should be the same thing.
There you go. Right. I think you're absolutely right. I think you're right, Linda. I think it's, and I hope everyone out there listening takes this to heart. It's not just about like right now at the holidays. So, the stuff you have on your website or things that people know about to go out and do good works should be every day throughout the year. We should not just be doing it at Christmas time. I'm totally with you. Now, before we go, Linda, because I know you've got to get out with the kids and go see lights and stuff, is there one surprise that came out of this, or one just moment where you just went like, wow, this is so great. I'm so glad I'm doing this. Was just one moment?
I think that keeps happening. If I think about the mitzvahs that happened along the way, there was a very dear rabbi and his wife that I spent a lot of time with the year after my dad died. And the story that continues to resonate for me is that the rabbi fell and he hit his head and he was in the ICU, and an email came out from our synagogue not to come to the hospital. It was only going to be close family. And I I didn't heed that call because I had spent so much time with him that whole year that I went to the hospital and I just had 5 minutes with him and thanked him because he was an amazing mentor and such an amazing person in our lives. And he passed away the next day.
Oh, wow.
And so I knew in that moment that I was glad I went, even though, you know, maybe I was told not to because I wasn't close family, and I figured it was okay that I had been able to have that 5 minutes with him.
Right.
So. But I'd say as I continue to talk about the book around the country, again, I'm surprised that, you know, I didn't consider myself a writer. I didn't consider myself somebody who had this simple, it seemed so simple. And so I feel like I guess I'm continuing to be surprised at how the simple message could actually be so meaningful to so many people on a lot of different levels.
Well, I think it's a message that we really need now. More than ever.
Yes.
So, and not
I
just
agree.
me.
Yes.
And
Holiday hater. She has got this the poorest little
look at me
attitude.
now.
I'll have to go back and listen to the beginning of the show because you guys alluded to that when I first got on, but I didn't hear it. So.
Linda, we want you to like us. Don't listen to the beginning of the show. Listen, I'm gonna let you go because I know you have a very tight schedule. But thank you so much for coming on.
for having me on.
Thank you, Linda.
And give your website one last time before you go, please.
www.1000mitzvahs.org.
Enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks,
Bye,
Gal.
Linda.
Bye.
That's nice. Dorico, I'm getting you that for Christmas. You know,
Okay,
I
have 2 weeks out of the year where I'm kind of mean-spirited.
Oh,
And
stop.
this is what I get?
Yes, because the Christmas is a beautiful time. It's a time of giving. But you know, first of all, I love the book. But what is interesting is it was just very small acts. This is not tough stuff.
No, it's just being mindful of people around you
Listen,
and being thoughtful.
here's one that I think always makes people feel good. Look at them in the eye. When you're out and about and you open a door or something, look at them in the eye and smile. Hi, how are you? I mean, just a simple act like that is, I think it goes very far. I mean, I don't understand changing toilet paper. I didn't want to ask her, but what was she talking about
I
there?
know exactly what it is. So let's say you're in the bathroom and you happen to notice that the roll is empty, but let's say you don't have to go, so you just leave.
In a public restroom?
No. I think she's talking about at home. Or
Oh,
with
at
your family.
home?
In
Well,
a public
Well,
restroom.
who else changes the toilet paper but us at home? Does someone at your house change your toilet
Justin
paper?
does.
Oh,
I know.
God.
I don't want the person to hear that who made fun of my blog about what a nice person my husband is.
So change your toilet. Okay, that's fine. But fine. Okay. But I like it. Go buy her book. If you like what she had to say, go buy her book.
It's a great idea.
It's a good message.
It's a great idea. You know, volunteering is a great idea, and I've done a little research for Healthy You, Happy You.
Absolutely.
About the benefits of volunteering. You know, they were talking, I think that this is a timely topic, because we're going to allude to this later, college campuses.
Oh.
But they're talking about students who gave above average amounts of time to volunteer projects had a 26% less risk of binge drinking. They talk about, you're laughing, did you volunteer and binge drink?
I've been volunteering my whole life, and I binge drink on a regular basis. What? Give me, who did this study?
This is healthywomen.org.
No, I should not. I don't know why I laughed at your healthy.
I don't know.
Because this is a good topic.
You could be doing a mitzvah right now, and instead you're mocking me.
Okay, so no, this is good. This is good for people to know. If you want your kid to not binge drink in college, have them volunteer.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh.
I think in general,
Okay.
It creates an awareness of other people.
Yes.
And that you can actually help someone else.
Yeah. Do you volunteer?
You know what? Volunteer through church.
Okay. What do you do?
Well, volunteering with the, look at her, she's looking at, she's grilling me.
What do you do?
All right, honestly, not as much as I should.
There we go.
I mean, I don't ever
you
sign
know
up
what?
at preschool to like help
You
on
don't.
cookie days.
Well,
I never do that.
Well, that's stupid. I don't like volunteering at preschool. I think it's dumb. But they should have enough people to hand out cookies. But there are so many opportunities to volunteer.
And you know what? Admittedly, our church does a lot of volunteering, and I leave it up to the people that do it all the time.
Yeah, you got to stop that.
I should.
You know, when I was in Charlotte, I volunteered because when I wasn't working and I didn't have a radio show, and Ad was in preschool, I volunteered at a crisis center. And I worked it like it was a job, and it was an unbelievable experience. And hence, then I started my own charity. You know, she says, like, people think, like, well, I'm not going to be able to do a charity that saves the whole world. And, I was sitting there and I had all these clothes for my daughter, and I was like, these clothes are beautiful. I'm not giving them to Goodwill, okay? I'm not going to give them to Goodwill and have people have to buy them, or they end up in third world countries, or however Goodwill works. It's just, I said, I want to get them to the children who I see, the people on the street that I see when I'm driving downtown Charlotte. And so I started a charity called Addie's Loft, and I sent out an email to all the women I knew regularly and said, hey, give me all your clothes, all your gently used children's clothes, and I will get them directly to people who need them. And I did, and it was on a small scale, and it didn't take a tremendous amount of effort, but you know what? I didn't binge drink.
There you go.
But no, honestly, it wasn't that hard to do, and it filled a huge void in my life. And I met so many great people, and I know for some people, not a huge amount of people, but for some people, I made a difference.
I know.
And it was a beautiful thing. So if you were volunteering, what would you be doing? What would you like to volunteer doing?
The organization Dress for Success, I think, is a very is a great cause, and because I feel like I could contribute to it. And helping people. Like I was saying, through our church, there's countless opportunities to volunteer with distributing food to our group of families that we take, that our church regularly helps, gifts. Right now, though, I got to say, I'm a little tied down with my 2 children. Sometimes I feel, though, like that being a good mother is a contribution to society. Of trying to raise decent little people. But the Wounded Warrior Project, my husband is involved with.
Right.
He's very involved with that, both donating of his time, and he's also, it's a good thing he's married. I have him so that I can piggyback on the good work he does. He also spends several hours every year assembling bicycles for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Your husband is honestly...
You know why he can do that? Because I have everything in control at home. I'm just saying.
He needs to binge drink. Well, there's a couple of charities that we definitely support. Women for Women International. Call them. Go do something for them. Help them, for God's sake. And then Wounded Warriors. And then through developing this show, coming up with the show, we came in contact with several groups. Jump for Joy Foundation, which helps with children's obesity. They're on our website. Go take a look at them if you want to do something good. Isabella Santos Foundation. Go take a look at that. And then the $5 Project. I talked about that in the blog. And that is, you want to talk about some people doing good just for the sake of doing good. This woman was down and out, homeless. She started tweeting about her situation. People started sending her things, helping her get on her feet. And she started this $5 project. By the way, it is not an actual charity. It's not a 501c. But what they do is their whole goal is just to spread happiness and joy with little $5 gift cards to people who are down and out. And anyway, go to the blog and read about it. It's very cool. But we have these links on our website. And it's just a place to start. But I challenge everyone, when you get done listening to the show, including my partner, Dorico, to go
Guilty as charged.
Go do a mitzvah. One mitzvah. Go to our website. I don't know. What was the mitzvah again? It was a good deed, right?
It's a good deed. And something close to home for us is a listener of the show, Shannon Pollard. Her daughter this year, Jordan, has been diagnosed with Peart's disease. And not only is Shannon doing all the care for her daughter, but she's also becoming very involved in the whole, Peart's Foundation. And Shannon is going to be on the show to tell us a little bit more about it. Yes, here she is.
Is that her?
That's her.
Hey,
Shannon.
Hi.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for
honey.
coming on the show.
You know what? I didn't recognize the area code. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were there. You want to tell us quickly about what you're involved in?
Well, I'm actually calling you from Children's Hospital. Jordan is in the hospital currently right now, but I'll tell you about the organization and what she has. So I'll go she's in isolation right now, so there's an echo. But Jordan has something called leg-calf Perthes disease, and it's a very interesting disease. It's very rare, and the interesting thing about it is she's a girl, and it's a male-dominated disease. And I don't know if you guys want to ask questions, so I'm just going to tell you what happened. And Bridget kind of knows the story because her and I work out together.
Right.
So we're an active family. And my daughter fell. It was not a big fall while we were overseas, a typical toddler fall. You know, you guys have kids. So, you know, they fall, and you're like, all right, big deal. They fell. You get over it. And she didn't get over it. And the fall wasn't enough to kind of be a big deal. But by the end of the 5th day, we were traveling from Holland back to Los Angeles, and she couldn't walk. And I'm like, all right, so after a 10-hour harrowing flight with a grandfather, a husband, a 2-year-old, and a 5-year-old in pain, I take her to urgent care, and she was complaining of knee pain. And for all you moms out there who are fans of the show, if a child complains of knee pain and they do an x-ray of the knee and they find nothing, you say, I want a hip exam. That is my biggest tip. Please say, I want a hip exam, because that is the first symptom of Perthes. And so we did a knee. The doctor at urgent care said, she's fine, take her home. I said, all right, growing pains.
Wow.
The lymph kind of continued, and the pain continued, and I'm like, this is off. And I can remember talking to Bridget kind of about it at the gym. And I've heard you guys talk about, I've been a fan of the show since the beginning, and it's all about mom's intuition, mom's gut, and my gut was saying, this isn't right.
Yeah, and you absolutely went with that. And Shannon had to, you know, literally fight her way to make sure that they found that in Jordan, and thankfully she did, and found the best doctor in the country, and that's in Maryland, right, Shannon?
Yeah, I mean, what ended up happening was, you know, the lymph continued. I took her to a specialist, and I'll say that loosely, here in Orange County, and he basically alluded to the fact that, you know, because my daughter the pain changed. The pain would say, oh, and then another symptom of Perthes for you moms out there, if the pain changes, okay, it's my knee, it's my hip, if they can't describe it, it's usually from the hip, because it radiates down. And so when she was telling the supposed specialist, well, you know, sometimes it's my knee, sometimes it's my cat, that's another classic symptom. And he told her verbatim, she's probably faking it because she has a younger brother. Tell her to walk normally, get over it, and, you know, whatever. And essentially blew me off. And I will be darned if I said, you know what, sir? No. I'm going to sit here in your office. I'm going to cozy up on your couch, and I'm going to get an x-ray from you. Because I hide behind trees, and I watch my kid, and she's limping, and she's trying to not limp for me, and that's not normal. So give me the x-ray. And you don't want to piss off a mom, and you don't want to piss me off. So I think he gave me the x-ray prescription just to get me out of the office and quit the scene.
Right.
Go ahead.
And then they found it, and not
They
only
found it.
right, and not only did you go about getting, you know, the medical treatment, but you've also set up where other people can help. And is that, it's still a hipforjordan.com, is that correct, Shannon?
Right. It's www.ahipforjordan.com, and since it's such a rare disease,
Right.
What we're finding is in this episode right now, I mean, she was taken via paramedic on Friday due to a pin infection, and we got to the emergency room here, and they saw this. You can see pictures and videos and everything, what's on her leg. It's a massive kind of steel device that no 6-year-old should have to endure, but they brought her in via paramedics, and they're like, what is that?
Wow.
They didn't even know what it was, because it's not done this side of the Mississippi.
Wow.
And Jordan's part of an experimental group. She's one of only 65 kids that they're doing this experimental surgery on. And we're having complications, but the bone growth, the surgery so far has been a success other than the complications. So it's a hit or miss, but we're holding firm.
Right.
That right now the risks are, the California doctors are, it's an ego trip, and we're battling with them, but thank goodness we're getting everyone on board. And
yes.
and I want, the biggest thing with the Perthes organization that I learned when I was in Baltimore with her was moms aren't being listened to, and it made me angry.
Right.
And it made me angry that I had to be angry at a doctor to say, you know what, man, you're not okay. I went to college too. Just because I'm a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean I'm an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
So don't treat me like one, and listen to what I'm saying. And I think a lot of moms had the same thing, but doctors are intimidating.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I know that you're still in the middle of a very difficult time, and we all were sending our good wishes with you, especially at this time, hoping that you can all be at home for Christmas. And if you can tell our listeners one more time where they can go to help Jordan and your family in your fight.
Well, it's Did I say too many W's because I'm lacking sleep right now?
That's all right. I think they did.
hipsforjordan.com.
Okay.
And they can find out all about Perthes disease and just learn about it. And it's for a lot of moms of sons, look at the symptoms, because they say it's rare, but I think it's just misdiagnosed and laziness. So
all right. Well,
please,
thank you,
look
Shannon.
at the symptoms.
All right. Thank you, Shannon.
We wish you the best.
Hang
we wish
in
you
there.
the best.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye, honey.
Bye.
All right. Now we are going to
we can
switch
do
gears
some
in a
good.
big way.
In a
big way. We went from loving, kind, happy things to something that I am completely on fire about. And absolutely,
really? I hadn't
I
noticed.
can't take it. I'm so angry about this. And we're going to bring on Greg Branch, who's an attorney who specializes in educational law, and he's going to help us talk through and help me understand this whole Penn State Sandusky nightmare. Greg, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
Greg. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Greg, do you want to just give real quick your background so everybody understands why I have you on the show, other than you're just absolutely adorable?
Well, I was going to start with that. But
Yes.
Okay. I have a 20-year background in education and the law. I've been a former teacher, school administrator, and as I was working through being a principal, I made the decision to go to law school because I had a passion around helping children, and I thought sometimes the system was letting them down, just like the system let these children down. And so, out of that, I went to law school and now, practice representing children in Southern California.
Now, Greg, I have worked in the private sector for a lot of years, so I understand the liability around if you are made aware of as a business that A is happening and it's illegal, okay, and then you continue to allow it to happen. When you get down to Z, you are liable from A to Z and everything in between. Now, with this Sandusky thing, here's what I want you to help me understand. What from that an education institution, a public institution, what is their liability specifically around McQueary and Sandusky and the people who knew about it? Because personally, I do not understand how a grown man sees a child being raped and walks away from that child and is not in jail and having everything they own taken from them.
Yeah, on the surface, it is shocking. And there's a couple of issues that are involved in your question that you may not even be aware of. But let's start with the question of duty. So, as an individual in the world, interestingly, and most people don't realize this, you don't have any affirmative duty to help anyone. So the scenario they always give you in law school is typically something involving, the most helpless, a baby. You're walking down the street and you see a child that's a baby in a carrier that's been left on a railroad track. You see the train coming. Is there any legal obligation on your part to help that child, even if it is zero risk to you and no harm? The answer to that question is no. You have no duty to help another person in peril whatsoever. Now, there are some exceptions to that. Yeah, kind of shocking, huh? Mm-hmm. So there's some exceptions to that. Number one is if you assume a duty by acting. So if you start to help, you just can't abandon it. Be like, oh, oops, changed my mind, sorry. Okay, so you can't have caused the peril. If you have a special relationship, like, for example, your husband, if he's having a heart attack, you just can't look over in the bed and be like, whoop, sucks to be him, right? And so, common law carriers and innkeepers have some special duties. But in this case, what it's going to hinge on is that here they have a duty to control the third person. They have that ability, they have the authority, and they knew or should have known that this person is likely to commit those acts. So, legally, they are going to be held accountable for this. But another issue is sovereign immunity, because as you're saying, this is a public institution, right. And it's a very weird public institution as I've been researching this, because they're what I would call a quasi-public institution. They receive money from the state, but they're not bound in the same way that state actors are. And one of the ways this is appearing is that typically they would be required, a state institution would be required to just give forward all of the information, anything that they have regarding Sandusky. As a state actor, they would be required to provide that. But what they're doing is they're claiming that they are, kind of a state-sponsored. And so they're saying, we don't have to do that. And that's been supported. Penn State's gotten away with that for a long time with its athletic department over these kinds of issues.
So this is going to end up just in civil, lot of civil liabilities then. The families will go after these individuals in civil court then, is what's going to happen, right? So the school is not going to suffer necessarily, but the individuals will.
No, the school's going to suffer as well. So what's going to happen is the defense is going to be able to overcome sovereign immunity, because these acts are just, as we all know, are just so horrific. That, when they rise to that level, states can know you can't hide behind, oh, well, gosh, I'm the state, so you can't sue me. When state actors do particularly horrific things, as in these cases, the court lowers that shield and allows governments to be sued, and they allow themselves to be sued through statute. So Penn State's going to get, is going to definitely get rung up on this big time. I mean, their exposure, they have the money to fund it, and I guess the good news here that people may want to hear is, because of that quasi-governmental status, it's actually going to be the university that pays, not the taxpayers. Because somehow it's not very gratifying to hear that, it's Penn State's citizens that are having to cough up, hundreds of millions of dollars in liability.
Right.
That doesn't really feel very good. But because of their status, it is actually, these suits are actually going to come out of Penn State's coffers. And, the Second Mile Foundation, which doesn't have the financial resources to cover this, is going to be, it will be gone.
Well, it's already, they said it's already about to close its doors because the funding is dried up, which is so sad, because there are good people involved in that, and there are children who need it, and now they're going to close up, and this McQueary guy gets to go to work every day. So they're quasi-state, but they're still liable from point A to point Z. Like, when they knew something was going on, there's going to be liability all the way through, right? It's the same as a corporation.
And I think that what's going to come out as I've been researching this is what you're going to find out is that in 1998, these folks both parties were fully aware of what was going on. And the reason I say that with such surety is that their general counsel at the time for Penn State was a gentleman by the name of Wendell Courtney. And he was well aware of what was going on with the Sandusky 1998 incident that was investigated by the police. They were sent out. And as an attorney, he has a fiduciary duty to both those parties. If he's aware of any exposure that any exposure that he's a good one, to make both, any parties aware that, look, this is coming up. You need to be aware of it. This could have a huge impact on your organization. And either one or two things is going to come up. Either he's going to lose his license because he did not make them aware of this, which I'm highly skeptical of, or it's going to come, it's going to be his license or him saying, look, here's all the paperwork. Here's where I notified these people. This is what happened. And this is why these people knew as early, definitely, as 1998 that this was going on. And they did nothing to protect the children involved.
Now, Greg, could those people then be charged in a criminal suit?
It's unlikely. I mean, there are corporate criminal charges, and I did a little reading on that. I mean, it could happen, but it's more likely to just be handled through civil. Some of the things some of the lawsuits that you may be hearing about are very similar to what's happening with the Catholic Church. You've got. The cases are shockingly similar in some ways. So you're looking at negligence, you're looking at negligent supervision, right? They failed to supervise their employees, negligent retention. They were aware of, what this gentleman, I probably shouldn't even use that word, what this individual was, perpetrating against young men and continued to hire them. But on top of that, and here's the big dollar lawsuits are, vicarious liability, like Holly was saying. They knew, they attempted to cover up,
right?
And that at that point, because generally what happens, the way companies shield themselves is clearly they didn't hire Sandusky to molest children. That is so far outside the scope of his job that typically on a one-time act, they're not liable for it. Because who knew, right? How would you know? But at the point when they become aware of it and they do nothing, now they've signed off. They've co-signed on his behavior, and they are as guilty as he is. So my guess is that when all of the Wendell and Horton stuff comes out, you're going to find out that since 1998, they're responsible for everything else. And then finally, the other way they're going to get rung up is likely to be civil conspiracy, which was also charged against the Catholic Church. That it's a group of individuals that communicated with one another and talked about how do we minimize our bad name, or keep this on the lowdown.
Yeah.
Once you start having conversations about that, it's a conspiracy.
Right. I actually saw an article a couple weeks ago, Greg, where it said the Catholic Church was giving advice to Penn State, and I just thought, oh dear God, is this really what's happening in the world today? I mean, it's so similar that they actually are sort of helping Penn State out on how they handle this. It's pathetic. It's unbelievable.
Well, are they helping them to do the right thing?
No, I don't know. I think they just gave them some advice on how to handle this. I think it's just insane. It's sad.
And wouldn't you want to turn to the Catholic Church for advice on how to handle child abuse?
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. I'm Catholic. Now, wait. Wait. I'm Catholic.
I don't know why she's saying this out loud.
I'm proud to be Catholic. I'm not proud of what happened in those scandals, but I know that it's not every priest or everybody in the church. It is not.
You're all
But what I want to say is
boys.
I have not seen that article, but perhaps they're telling them, listen, we made some bad decisions here. Yeah. This is what you should not do.
Well, they aren't the ones to talk to. Greg, thank you so much. I love her no matter what. What?
All I'm going to say is the cow is already out of the pen. It's a little late for them to start getting advice now.
Maybe that's what they're telling them.
They're well past advice.
They are definitely well past advice. Greg Branch, can you please give your website in case anybody's interested in getting your help and support with special education law?
Absolutely. It's www.edrightsadvocate.com.
Ed Rights, EDRIGHT, right? Ed Rights.
Yes. Ed Rights, plural.
Yes.
Ed Rights
Okay.
Advocate.
Just want to make sure everyone's got it. It's on the website too. All right, Greg.
Thank
we're running out of time.
Greg.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Look at you getting all hot. I'm a Catholic.
Well, you people didn't explain what was on the article. Maybe they're saying, listen to us. Do the right thing.
Oh my God, look how hot you are now. and passionate. I'll get the article.
Yeah, because maybe they're saying, you know what, just say we're wrong and then make it, do what you can at this point.
We're not blaming the Catholics. I'm sorry I
Sure.
brought it up. Jeez. Holy cow.
I'm glad you did.
Here we go. All right.
Because look at what's happened to me this past week.
I'm
starting to have an opinion.
I love it. Just on someone else's show, if you wouldn't mind. I like the show.
I
like our show just to be my opinion, and then you just sound all professional. All right, this is it for 2012.
This is it for 2012.
Oh, 11.
Oh my God, 11. And I just went along with you. Where did my critical thinking go?
All right, we are not broadcasting next weekend. We are going to be opening gifts and binge drinking. Oh, wait, no, because we're volunteering, so there's no binge drinking.
Well, just 28% less.
Just checking. All right, and then starting in January, what do we have, Dorico?
We are very excited because starting in January, you will be able to see us live, not on video. So not only listening to us live on the radio, but you can also tune into our live stream channel, which we will be sending out so you will know where to find us.
Yeah.
We've got already a fantastic lineup of guests for 2012.
We do. It's going to be great.
Great topics.
It's always great.
We're going to start the year off strong. And,
we are. So you'll hear from us, and thanks everyone for your support in 2011, and we hope you have a fabulous holiday. And go volunteer. Go do something good for somebody.
Or just for your own family. Just change the toilet paper roll, all right?
Excellent. All right, now
go live out loud.
Bye.